This video is going to go over area of composite figures, and basically what a composite figure is, it's one shape that's composed of two separate figures. It could be the same shape like two rectangles, or it could be different shapes, a square and a triangle. So here's an image. Again, what I was saying, a composite figure is made up of two or more individual shapes. That's our basic definition. And what we're basically going to do is find the area of each shape separately. So this one had three figures, a square and two triangles, and then we would just add all three back together to find the whole figure's area. Here's a story problem, a real life situation. It says Drew is staying at a hotel that has a swimming pool shown below. Drew wants to know the area of the pool. Find the area of the swimming pool at Drew's hotel. So here's a little sketch of what resembles the swimming pool shown at his hotel. They have divided this figure into two separate shapes that we know. Over here we see each shape individually, the rectangle and the square. So below I'm going to find the area of both of these shapes and then add it back together to get my total for the entire swimming pool. The rectangle's dimensions, it has 6 and 12. The way you find area of a rectangle is length times width or base times height, because they represent the same thing. So the dimensions are 6 and 12. It doesn't matter which one is which because we're only multiplying. 6 times 12 is 72. So right now I'm up to 72 square units. And then the swimming pool, the square section, it only says 10. But a square is the same on all sides, so this would be 10 times 10. And 10 times 10 is 100. Then I'm going to add something to my notes right here. I'm going to say add. We should add those two figures together. So I'm going to put my plus sign here. 72 for my rectangle, 100 for my square. And then when I add those together, I get 172. This was measured in meters. And then remember, all area answers have squared on the end. 172 square meters for the whole swimming pool. Now we just have a diagram, no story related to it, but it was one big figure, and then by inserting this dotted line, now I have separated it into a rectangle and a triangle. The 14 right here represents the length of the entire figure all the way from the left to the right. So including this part of the rectangle and the triangle is 14. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say these are the dimensions. If I just trace over the rectangle, remember rectangles are the same on both, top and bottom are the same and left and right are the same. So 5 needs to be on both sides, and then 6 needs to be on top and bottom. So now when I get ready to do my rectangle, I know my numbers that I need to multiply are 5 and 6. 5 times 6 is 30. So the rectangular space is taking up 30 units. Now I'm ready for the triangle. I don't have a number down here on the bottom, but I do have the number for the height of the triangle because it's opposite this side, so they should be the same since it's on the rectangle. The entire length of the figure again was 14, remember, but some of it was taken up by the rectangle, which was 6. So to get this leftover, what I need to do is subtract. So if the whole shape was 14, minus the part of the rectangle that's already been used, which was 6, my leftovers is 8. So then this number at the bottom needs to be 8. It's not drawn to scale, even though this looks shorter. I can't just say that it's going to be less than 6 because things aren't always drawn perfectly. So now that I know my dimensions for my triangle, I have 5 for the height. I have 8 for the base. The formula says I need half of the base times the height, or I can go ahead and do base times height and then divide by 2. So these are my triangle numbers that match up with my blue lines. 5 times 8 and divide by 2. 5 times 8 is 40. Then divide 40 by 2. Then I have 20. Remember earlier we were saying on the last slide, we should add these two individual shapes together. So I'll put a plus sign down here, 30 for the rectangle, 20 for the triangle. So that makes 50. And then it was measured in centimeters. And then don't forget, every triangle answer has squared units to represent an area answer. So my final answer for this composite figure is 50 square centimeters. The last one we're going to look at is a combination of a rectangle. I know it's a rectangle because these two sides are not the same. And then we have a semicircle on top. Okay. The rectangle should be pretty easy because we've done one in the last two examples. So I have 10 and 14. If I trace over all of that, my two numbers, 10 times 14. Any number times 10 is just the number itself, and then add a 0 to the back. So the rectangle is 140. Now when I get ready for the semicircle, our formula is area equals pi r squared and divide by 2 because it's a semicircle. If we don't want to use this exponent, then we can just do, that means radius times radius, but then we still have our divide by 2 at the end since it is our semicircle. Radius only goes halfway across the circle. So if I were to start in the center and go to the edge for my radius, the whole distance matched up with the rectangle, which was 14. So half of it would only be 2. I need to divide that thing in half. So my radius is really only 7. So now I know to start my semicircle question, I can do pi times radius divide by 2. Pi is always 3.14. The radius we now determined was 7. So I have 7 times 7, then divide by 2. 3.14. If I do 7 times 7 first, that's 49, because I know that one. And then I can divide by 2. You can either divide by 2 first. You can do 49 divided by 2, or you can do 3.14 times 49. I'm just going to do 3.14 times 49 first and then do half of it. To make this video short, I'm just going to tell you what that equals. It's 153.86. And then that last step is divide by 2. And half of 153.86 is 76.93. Okay, so the semicircle portion is 76.93. Lots of times kids forget to do this last step of divide by 2. So make sure you don't forget that when you have a semicircle in your composite figure. We are still adding these two shapes together to get one final total. So the rectangle was 140. The semicircle is 76.93. When you add those together, you get 216.93. And this was measured in millimeters. And then remember, last thing on all area answers is put that square units on the end so we know that it is representing area and not something else.